Morning, everyone. Hope I am audible. Right. So today we are going to discuss a good topic. This is one of the core app entry points. All right. So this is the continuation of the project that we worked with yesterday. So I'm opening the project. Let's discuss about this a little bit. Okay. So that you'll get the context about what we are going to do today. Right. So this is, let us say, this is an application. This is app. This is app one. So it has a database. This has a DB, SQLite. Okay. Now there is another application. There is another application. Let us call it as app two. So we have two applications now. So in the first application, we built a database and we are storing some data into it. Okay. So from give me one minute, guys. Okay. So from app two, you would like to you would like to access the database of app one. Okay. By default, this is not at all possible. This is not possible. So doing IPC, which stands for inter-process communication, should only happen by the help of services or content providers. We'll talk about the former a bit later. We'll talk about this content providers too. Right. So if app 2 wants to access app 1's database, will that not be possible at all? It is possible through content providers. Let us say if you build a layer, let us say if you build a layer which is a content provider. So this is our content provider. This is an abstract layer that directly interacts with the database and gets the data out of it. So if you are able to request this content provider, if you are able to request this content provider, this provider will be able to give you the data that you requested for. For actually requesting this content provider on app 2, we need to have another component called content resolver. Okay. So this is absolutely possible. However, directly accessing the database of app 1 from app 2 is not possible. Now understanding this concept, can you give me one best example about the content provider and the content resolvers around? Can you try? Okay, I'll tell you an example. So So this is your app, and you know the name of this application? Contacts. You have got multiple contacts available here. Okay, you've got multiple contacts available here. Now, this becomes a content provider for many other applications. For example, you have an application called WhatsApp installed on your device. You have another application called Telegram. You have one more called Instagram, and etc. So all these applications, what they will have is they will have a content resolver. Let us simply in short call it as a CR. So we have CRs on all the applications because these are using the contacts of your application. CR. Now this is sending a request to contacts. Contacts responds to the request by sending the data. This is okay, sending the data only upon the request given by the Telegram application. Similar is the case with Instagram. Nice. This is one best example that anybody can pick up for content provider and content resolver. Okay. However, these transactions are only happening when there is a user's permission. When there is user's permission. Okay. If you install WhatsApp, you will get a pop-up, permission pop-up asking you that if you want to allow WhatsApp to access your contacts. If you only click on allow, this content resolver will come into force and get the data out of contacts app. Okay. If you deny, yes, you cannot get contacts to even WhatsApp. That is not possible at all. So hope this concept is clear. The concept is clear. If I am not wrong, hope it is clear to you. Right? So now shall we proceed to building an application just like, in the place of contacts, we will use SQLite application that we developed. And in the place of one Telegram or one WhatsApp or Instagram, we will develop an application by the name Content Resolver. That will fetch the data and show it to the users. Right. As the concept is clear, you should confirm it to me, guys. Otherwise, it will be hard for me to continue. Like it is something like if you understood this, I'm fine. Otherwise, I have to work around on this concept. Clear? Right. Thank you, Sweta, for responding. Okay. There is a question. Nice. Zomato app is asking for location access. No, that is not an example of content providers. Because Zomato wants to make use of your GPS signals and get data out of it. GPS, internet, whatever the signals that are available based on that. Zomato wants to access the precise location, but it is not accessing any data from your mobile application, right? No other application is related to Zomato. Zomato is a standalone application. It just needs a few sensitive permissions. I understand that. But it is not accessing context. If it is accessing context, yes, Zomato is also a content resolver. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Now, with this example that we are going to build, you will understand how this works as a whole. Okay. Right. Yesterday, where did I install SQL application? Or did I install it on my device? No, I haven't. Okay. I want to make this database accessible by other applications. If that is the case, all I need to do is go to project, right click on the app, go to new, choose other, choose content provider. Okay. I'll repeat. If you want to make this database accessible by other applications in the same system, in the same Android operating system that you have installed, just have to right click on the app, go to new, choose other, and select content provider. Once it is selected, you can name your class with, or you can leave it to, sorry, go to other, choose content provider, right click, go to new, other, content provider. Yeah. So in the content provider, you can name it as my content provider. Now the next important step is to give the URI authorities. Now you may ask me, what is this URI authorities? URI authorities will uniquely identify your content provider. Very simple. URI authorities is like a package name which should be unique across your system, your Android operating system. Let it be on phone, tablet, anywhere. So this URI authority recognizes my content provider, which you are creating right now. I'll write in dot narragetech dot content provider. Okay. In the place of URI authorities, you can give any package name of your interest. It is not that you should only give, you should give other details like okay. Very simple. Make sure that enabled and exported options are selected. Otherwise, your content provider cannot be accessed by other applications. Only your application would be able to access your content provider. But today, our target is not to let the same application use this content provider. We want other applications also to make use of this content provider. Make sure you're having a copy of this. Hit on finish so that a content provider will be created automatically for you with a few predefined methods or pre-existing implemented or extended methods. Not only here, when there is an activity, you register that activity inside the manifest file, isn't it? There is only one activity and you have registered it in the manifest file under the application tag. In the similar way, when you are working with broadcast receivers, content providers, or services, they must be registered inside this manifest file. If you see, there is a registration. There was a registration for my content provider because this is a provider that has this identifier or authority. It is yes enabled and it is also exported. Actually, you can close this provider as a self-closing tag. That is also fine. Okay. Once this is done, what is this provider supposed to do? I'll make the task simple, guys. Very simple. I'll make the task so simple. First thing first, we will have to create an object for data helper, database helper. So database helper. And where do we create it? We create the database helper inside the onCreate method. How do we create it? Helper equals to new database helper. You need to give the context, right? You can write get context and that will get you the context object. So we do not know, we cannot write get application context here because when this content provider is hit by another application, the context would be different. So whatever the application that is responsible for calling this content provider, that context you want to get it. That is why you are writing get context here. And you can return true here. In the face of false, you can return true here. Nice. Now, this delete is for delete operation. Get type is for handling multiple requests. Okay. Insert is for inserting the data into the database. And query is for getting the data out of the database. And update is for updating the data in the database. All this is possible through this content provider, which is hit by another application. Okay. Now we'll see how to handle insert simply. Simply how to handle insert. Let us understand that. Simply call helper.insert data and pass content values to it. You are done. Matter close. Helper.insert data. That's it. You are done. Now, how do we get the data out of it? That is also simple. Instead of writing all this in the query method, you simply have a return statement writing helper dot get all data. You're done. When this query URI is passed, when the URI is passed, you will write get all data and you are done with it. See how simple it is. In the same way, if you already have worked with update, you can also write this update query here. Similar is the case with delete. Okay. So that's what we have to do on our application. Nothing else we need to change. There are a few errors scripting. Let us see what they are. Okay, you want to return a URI, correct? So return the URI that is responsible of calling this. That's it, you're done. Now all you need to do is connect your device to Android Studio. And run this application first. You will not find anything changing visually. But when you create another application, you will understand the benefit of it, benefit of this whole process. as on date. If I hit on load, I get four records from the database. Nice. So this works the same way. However, when you are leaving this application, I recommend you to copy this authorities, because without having authorities in hand, you cannot access the database, right? Without closing this application, we can create another application. I'll tell you how. Go to File, hit New, select New Project. As usually, select Empty Activity. Give the application name as Content Resolver. It is created in batch 15. Should be created in batch 15. Nice. Hit on Finish to create the project. As soon as the project is created, first go ahead and write string authorities equal to the authorities that you copied. Okay, right. In order to turn out these authorities into a proper URI, you're supposed to write URI content underscore URI is equal to URI dot parse of URI dot parse of all content providers must have this prefix. Now you may ask me, why do we need a prefix, Pavan? Why do we need a prefix? With this prefix, the system will understand when there is a request passing out, the system will understand that it is a content provider request. Just like you write HTTP or HTTPS colon double slash before a URL, for the content provider, you should mention that it is a sorry that it is a content. So content colon double slash would identify that it is a content provider. Add these authorities to this. You're done. Simply you're done. Now we are waiting for the data, let us suppose. So cursor C is equal to, we get the content resolver with the help of get content resolver method. And on top of it, you can call any of the methods that are listed out. Previously, I've shown a structure, right? The methods that are available in that structure can all be called. I'm choosing query. And in this query, I pass the content URI first, and then I'll pass all null because I know how we'll get the data. Right? There is another null value necessary. How resolver knows the provider URI? See, we are calling query and then we are giving the content URI, right? Attention. So this query method is actually related to the content resolver only. It is going to access content provider only with the help of content URI. And now, once you get the data, is it clear, Akansha, or do you need any other explanation from this end? Of course, we have given it statically, correct? Yes, as a string, yes, we gave it. Absolutely. So what is the question? How resolver knows this URI? Mhm. Only if you know the URI, you can develop a content resolver, Akansha. In the system, if you ask me how these things are mapped appropriately, I would say if there is a content provider that is already working, that is already being there in the system, only then this application will work. If I uninstall the application that we already have worked with, where content provider is defined, this application will not work. No, the providers will not have a standard URI. Only if you can create your own URI and then release it to public through documentation. Okay. Only with the help of the documentation, people can develop content resolvers accessing your app's database. Hope my point is clear. For content for contacts also, there are URIs available. You can see them in the developer documentation if you want to access contacts, right? In a similar way, if someone wants to access our app's database, they should see our documentation. How we can make use of SQLite apps database. If they search it on Google, if our blog post comes up or if our documentation link comes up, they will read and understand which authority should be used and how it should be used. Right. Great. So you know how to work with a cursor. First, move the cursor to the first position and then write a do while loop while c dot move to next. Put a semicolon at the end. Now I'm going to get data out of it and I want to display it on the text view. So first of all, set up the text view. Na? Hello world does not have an ID. Let us give it an ID called text view to text views. Okay, that is the ID. Now connect this text view appropriately. Text view, text view. In the on create method, write text view is equal to find view by ID r dot id dot text views. Okay. And you know how to resolve these kind of errors. You just have to clean project and those errors will be resolved. Now I want to display the data. Let us say int id is equal to c dot get integer of 0. Because I remember the table. String name is equal to c dot get string of 1. And I also remember the age. Int age is equal to c dot get integer of 2. I'll display all these things on top of the text view. So simply you can have the text view ready here. Text view dot set text. Not set text, we'll have append of. First of all, make the text view's value to null. Text view dot set text of empty. Now append the data ID plus give a space, 2 spaces name plus 2 spaces plus age backslash n. Okay, so I think we are good to run the application. Let's see if it crashes or if it runs properly. Let us run the application. And in the new application, you should see the same data. 1 power 18, 2 account 23, sweater 22, 4 surplus 124. This data only you should see, you should be able to see. Okay, and there is a common error that we got, and I'm not working on this anymore. Why? I don't know. Okay, now you can run the application and see the output. You should get all these 4 values. See, you got those 4 values. Let us say you want to do it more dynamically, not like statically. So in the design, what you want to do is you want to put this text view at the top and you want to have two buttons here. One button will say save, the other button will say load. Okay. I will actually select these two buttons, right click, go to chains and create a horizontal chain. Now, on the first button, I'd like to make it as match parent. Second button also, I'd like to make it as match parent. Right click, show baseline of the second button, map it to the first button. Change the name on the first button to save. Save. The second button, I would like to save it, call it as load. Now the save button also must be aligned to the bottom. Now this hello world can map the top of this one of these things. Now what I want to do is I like to change the size of the text view from wrap content to match constraint. Now I'll go to the split. I'll add applicable handlers for both these buttons. Save data or save new data. And here for loading, you can say on click load data. Okay, you can create both the methods on main activity easily like this. So only when load data is pressed, okay, you can just call this one, cut it from here, go ahead and paste the code in load data. So only when you click on the button, you will get the data. And for saving the data also, I just want to save some random data. So string name is equal to, let us pick up on a good name. I'll say Pavan Kumar. Okay, that is a very good name. So int age is equal to now 20 from the past 10 years. Now what all we need to do is just have to save this data. To save the data also you need a content URL. So you copy this content URL, come here, paste it. Now you want to have um, you don't need a cursor. However, you can get the content resolver. You can, okay, first of all, you need to create content values, right? So content values is equal to new content values. Okay. Values dot put of person underscore name to name and values dot put of person underscore age equal to age. So let us see if the keys are matching with the previous project. If you jump into here, you will see person name, person age. Correct. Now come back to your project. Once these column names are matched, now you can call get content resolver dot insert. You pass in the content URI without fail. Otherwise, your content provider will not be invoked. And you finally pass the values as well to it. You're done. Now you can actually have a toast message saying data set. Okay. And after this, once the data is saved, we have to automatically update it. So we can call load data with the help of this view object. Let's run the application and see the output. As on date, you don't see any output. If you click on load, you get the data. If you hit on save, you get the data added and the new data is already been updated here. If you hit on it again, you'll get the other one. Now, is it really going to affect the original application? Any guesses? Is this process? I am hitting on save button multiple times. So I should be getting 9 entries. Good guess, Akansha. You are absolutely right. So conceptually speaking, it has to modify this data also. If I hit on load, I should get 9 values and I'm getting 9 values. Correct? In the similar way, you can also work with update, delete, such kind of things with the content provider and resolver together. I hope this concept is interesting. Correct? No responses. Why? You don't feel you don't understand a thing or what? What is it? Let's say I add. Thank you, Altaf. Let's say I add another good name like Soumya. Age is 28. If Tom say data is inserted successfully, if I hit on load, the data is coming up. In a similar way, if I go here and hit on load, I get the data as well. Exactly, Akansha. Correct. Any resolver can modify our storage, like as contacts. Correct. We can add contacts to our contacts app database by accessing contacts. Right? We can edit contacts, which means the update operation. We can read contacts, which means showing the contacts on WhatsApp or Telegram, such kind of applications. So, yeah, this is one concept that helps us to actually access the database, like do the inter-process communication, which is quite interesting. If you work with contacts, you will also feel amazed to look at how Android concept can be used to access any contacts app. And for contacts app, there is a documentation. There is a nice documentation available. Access contacts developer documentation. No, this is Apple developer. Yeah, this one, contacts provider. No, it is not risky, Akansha. It is not at all risky. See, when you do not disclose, very simple thing to understand. If you do not disclose this authority, your data is not being lost. Or even if you disclose this authority, if you do not tell the user or if you do not document anything and put it up on internet, which guides the users to fetch your data, it is not risky. And coming to contacts, not every application can access contacts. Correct? If an application is installed and as a user, if you do not decide to share your contacts, not knowing what happens with the contacts, you don't want to share your application. Sorry, you don't want to share contacts access to your to the newly installed application. You hit it on deny. What happens is your contacts will not be shared with the application. Right? One more thing. There is a lot of there is a good team working in Google. They are called Mobile Unwanted Software Team. So this team, what it does is when you upload apps to Google Play Store, you should be reading this documentation, which I am showing it to you a bit early because you said some risks are involved. So they will be completely looking into your applications that are installed on Play Store. They'll do a proper engineering on these applications and finds out if the data is collected. Let's say some application is asking your contacts access, and if that application is snatching your contacts without your knowing, without your um, approval, then what happens is this application will automatically blocked by Google. You will not get that anymore on Play Store. In a similar way, there are many applications as SBI Yono. SBI Yono has got multiple clones. Clones in the sense multiple fake applications developed as Yono, and they are actually snatching a lot of money, and that is also recently blocked. So, an application that pretends to be another applications with an intention to deceive users, it comes under social engineering section, and those applications will also be blocked. Third one is disruptive ads. Sometimes what happens is some applications will play ads that are not visible to the user, but they will be charging Google for the showing of ads. Such kind of apps will come under disruptive ads. Okay, and unauthorized user limitation for system functionalities, ad fraud, all these things are there. There is a very big team working on these things, and they will definitely catch the applications that are dangerous. So you are safe as a user, right? It doesn't mean that you that you can install any application and feel a sense of having secured. No, that's not the way. But if an app is popular and if it is snatching some data, impersonalization, personal identifiable information, if anything is leaked as such, definitely it will be blocked. Nice. So for contacts, you can use this contacts provider. Okay. Try to work on it. There are hundreds of tutorials available. But this concept, which is delivered by me right today, is not available at in most of the places. Right. So make sure you are also seeing this contacts provider. I'll add this in the notes. Right. I will push this code to GitHub, and that ends this concept and also the session for the day. I thought of we will be extending the class for another 10-15 minutes. I mean, usually, but we completed in just 45 minutes, if I'm not wrong. Not even 45 minutes. Sometimes this happens, magic is all around. Show more options, get bashed here. It's been a long time since I used to get bashed. That's the reason I'm interested to use it now. Get router, content provider, and resolver. Git push origin main mask. No, Altapraja, content provider, context provider and content provider both are same. Yes. Sorry. Yes. I read the question wrong. The context provider is also a content provider. Okay. Right. Please work around these things and you will have a good grip over this concept. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm closing a bit early today. So on Monday, we'll meet at sharp 7 o'clock. From Monday, we will be talking about MVVM architecture. As till today, we talked about MVC, and from Monday for a couple of for that entire week probably, we'll only be discussing about how to build an application using MVVM architecture. This is the default architecture that we have seen so far. and we will be looking into MVVM as well, so that you will be able to answer a few questions if asked on MVVM. This is in good demand in the market, both MVC and MVVM, but MVVM has much more demand than MVC. Right. We'll talk about them on Monday. Have a happy weekend, guys. Have a blast, enjoy, and we'll meet on Monday. Thank you. Take care.